Hey, basement apartment DIY. Today I'm going to talk about finding a good lease. Lease is really important, as I'm sure you know. And if you don't have a good one and you're looking for one, I have several suggestions of where to find one. This basement apartment DIY is set up for you as a basement apartment owner to help you run it better, more professionally, and give you ideas of what other people's basement apartments look like and what they're doing. So I have 5 or 6 ways to find a good lease. I was recently on another YouTube channel, a national guy, Matt Faircloth. He's a really smart guy, owns hundreds of units in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And I asked him about how to find a good lease, and these are some of his suggestions. I'll just go over them real quick and then I'll link to that video. The first one is just a friend or someone else that owns property in your area. They could be a friend, or you could just approach somebody an acquaintance or something, and ask them for a good lease. The advantage of that is it's been used in your area, tested, and Matt said to find someone that has a similar property to yours. So another basement apartment owner, maybe somebody that's smart, because a single family house might have some things in it that wouldn't apply to you. But anyway, a friend or someone else in the business that owns units, get a lease from them. Second one is a lawyer. People that do evictions, sometimes they'll give out free leases. I've found, the one I found was from an eviction attorney, was pretty long, like 15 pages, or this is 12 pages and long and cumbersome, and I didn't like that. As I said, a lease should be the rule book between you and the tenants. And if nobody can understand it, and it's too long, then it's really not going to be helpful. You should point out the things that are important to you, and if it's shorter, more concise, and easier to understand, then you might get better results getting your tenants to do what you want them to do. So that's the second one, a lawyer. The third one is there's a national organization called Bigger Pockets, and they have a lease for every state, and not only a lease, but an application, the paperwork to do an eviction, 3-day notice, and that kind of thing. For $100, you can get all that information. I think that's a good value. So you can go on biggerpockets.com. They encourage you to sign up for the $300 a year program to be a pro member, they call it. But for $100, you can get the lease in your state, which is probably all you need. You could even go on there. It's an organization with tons of members, so there will be people in your state, and you could say, hey, does anyone in Utah have a good lease that would work for basement apartment? And maybe get one for free that way. And again, that one might be actually used in Utah, and they mentioned if it's been tested by lawyers, it could be better. Okay. The fourth one is the apartment association in your area. Here we have the Utah Apartment Association, and they want $150 a year to use their lease. Now you can sign up for the first year and get all their paperwork, lease application, eviction stuff, and all the addendums, like a pet addendum, all those kinds of things that you would need. But they actually want you to be a member to use it. So they want you to pay the $150 every year. Whether or not you did that, you wouldn't necessarily have to. Another one is a real estate association or an investor association. All over the place they have investor associations that people that are trying to help each other invest in real estate, or realtors would be able to give you a lease. So that's maybe 5 and 6, realtors or real estate investing associations. And then number 6 would be like LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer. I got on there and they have leases. I think they sell them for maybe $100 again. But the people from Matt Faircloth wasn't so excited about this because it's better to get something local that people are actually using than something off of like a Rocket Lawyer website. Rocket Lawyer is just a website that gives out all kind of law forms, and so leases would be part of that. There's a couple more. Maybe a property manager, if they would let you use their lease, and then say they might want you to sign up with them. So they might not let you use their lease, but they might be nice and do that. But anyway, there's 5 or 6 ways you can find a lease. Again, a lease is it's kind of the playbook between you and your tenant. A lot of times you think, oh, if everybody's an adult and everybody understands, you don't need a lease. But adults understand things differently, and so you need a lease that gets everything on the table. And when you go through the lease, explain the things that are important to you. For instance, I've had tenants that have had cars that don't work, and in a lease, that's one of the provisions you have. They can have so many cars, and they all have to be running, and here's where they park them, and that kind of thing. A million things like that. So it's just an understanding, so everybody knows the rules, and then use the lease. Don't just throw it in the drawer. Explain the rules, and then everybody knows the rules. And then if they violate or have, say, hey, this is in the lease, and and work with them that way. Anyway, there's a couple ways you can find a lease. And I appreciate you listening, and this has been Basement Apartment DIY.